Royal News. It is May 20th, 2045. The world as we know it has long been a place of chaos, dysfunction, conflict, and miscommunications. The past and present have shown us that we as a society are incapable of coming together in agreement, nonetheless planning far enough into the future to maintain world unification. According to the hopeful world leader, Ms. Botts, the key to ending all of these problems is unifying the world under one ruler. Ms. Botts is hoping to become the leader of the whole world and bring everyone together. Today she will let us know how she plans on doing this. Perhaps Logan Botts is our world's one true shot at world leadership.
It's my one-on-one interview with Ms. Botts. Over the past 25 years, Ms. Botts has been working non-stop to propose the perfect method for world domination. No other woman has ever come as far as her in terms of her intellectual prowess and such vast knowledge of international relations. Many people may know her name or know her as the Planner, but they don't know her story and reasoning behind her quest for world leadership. In the next couple of minutes, we will delve deep into the world of Ms. Botts and see what the future may hold for us. As you may already know, Ms. Botts has already been extremely successful in her brief career. So, Ms. Botts, I hear you are hoping on becoming the leader of the whole world after being the leader for the majority of Europe.
Yes, that's right.
Could you tell us how you plan on becoming the first ever leader of the entire world and your past experiences that prepared and motivated you to embark on this huge undertaking of world domination?
I've been in control of much of Europe, and I know what it's like to rule many different countries, regions, and people, which is why I think I'm prepared to expand my horizons. In my 25 years of ruling Europe, I found the key to ruling in the most effective ways possible. I believe it's being able to plan all the way to the end. In my experiences, I've found that you're not able to get anywhere without planning on what you want your end goal to be. For example, if you want to go into war and your people do not know exactly why you're going to war, then obviously your goal is not specific enough. Similar to what George Bush did, and he ended up with unexpected consequences.
So in March 2003, the United States, Britain, and a coalition of other countries invaded Iraq. Within a month, Baghdad was captured, Saddam Hussein was ousted, Iraq created a new government that was more democratic than Saddam's dictatorship, and then descended into sectarian chaos. After Baghdad fell, President Bush declared the end of major combat operations in Iraq, but troops soon found themselves trying to manage an increasingly organized insurgency that featured attacks and bombings. And by 2006, American intelligence analysts concluded that Iraq had become a haven for Islamist terrorists, which it hadn't been before the invasion. In fact, Saddam Hussein's socialist government, while it occasionally called upon religion to unify people against an enemy, was pretty secular. Although fewer than 200 Americans had died in the initial assaults, by the end of 2006, more than 3,000 American soldiers had been killed and another 20,000 wounded. Hundreds of thousands of Iraqis had died in the conflict, and the costs of the war, which were promised to be no more than $60 billion, had ballooned to $200 billion. So that, and we try very hard here at Crash Course to be objective, was a bit of a disaster.
Can you elaborate on that and why Law 29, planning all the way to the end, is the best law to assist your efforts?
Well, what good is it if it all simply crumbles as soon as I step down? Some things you can't plan for, but I hope that my reign will not end with my death, but I can, in a dignified manner, give the responsibility to somebody else. Planning all the way to the end requires me to remain forever vigilant and prepared for every situation.
Do you have any examples of this? Of a failure to plan properly?
The fall of the Roman Empire was caused by a failure to plan. No one anticipated the events that would weaken the empire or the outside forces would attack. According to Dr. Peter Aker of the University of Southern Maine, Rome collapsed under its own weight. If your system was built improperly, eventually you are going to run out of territory to conquer, says Dr. Patrick Hunt of Stanford University. Both men say things suggesting that Rome collapsed due to poor planning and inability to sustain itself any longer, none of which will be the case with me as leader.
Many people are afraid of the idea of one person having absolute control. I mean, so many countries today are democracy or another form of representative government, something we have worked to achieve over centuries. What do you have to say to all those who fear and oppose your efforts?
I would like them to simply know that I have no intention of being a ruthless dictator. I am simply the one with the plan. Nothing will ever come in unexpectedly for me because I've already planned for it to happen and am prepared to handle the situation. I know exactly what I need to do and when. Other laws of power may suggest being deceptive or totally crushing your enemy, but none of that is really effective because you won't know how to govern your people. That's what I plan to do. Govern, not dictate.
Who did you learn this leadership style from? Who is your role model?
Interestingly enough, one of them is Angela Merkel. When I was growing up, she was considered the leader of Europe because she was a very effective leader of Germany and helped out greatly with Greece's economic decline and worked very closely with the UN. She was such a role model to me because she had short-term goals such as bailing Greece out of debt and long-term goals like fixing Germany's infrastructure that she hoped to achieve.
Do you ever try to incorporate other effective leadership styles into your leadership?
I do, in fact. I remember learning about Julius Caesar in school, and I was always so impressed by how he was able to effectively govern so much land and so many people, and was also able to expand his reign and outsmarted his conspirators and planned a way to be able to rule alone. Although I do not plan on betraying all those that have helped me get to where I am, I admire how he planned to be able to rule by himself. Of course, there's Genghis Khan, who expanded the Mongol Empire, and with his descendants, they unified China, Persia, and Russia under one empire.
Throughout history, has there been anybody whom you have thought to be ineffective?
I've always thought that Shi Huangdi from the Qin dynasty was an ineffective planner, as he was only able to keep his dynasty alive for 15 years, neglecting to plan what would happen after he stepped down from emperor. Same thing occurred with Askia Muhammad, a great Muslim leader of the Songhai, whose reputation was tarnished simply because he failed to anticipate how his family would fight for power upon his resignation.
It's so interesting. How do you feel about the leaders in the early 21st century, like Obama?
Well, as I did grow up in America, I was exposed to many opinions about President Barack Obama. Obama was the first president of color for the United States, and he came into office right after George W. Bush left. And as I said before, Bush left Obama in unorganized and not very well thought out leadership. Because of this, Obama was forced to plan how to clean up Bush's mess. I'm sorry for being so opinionated. I think Obama did a good job, though it took a long time. It's important to remember how difficult a challenge it was, but he effectively came up with a plan to how to get American troops out of Afghanistan. On the contrary, I've always thought that Prime Minister of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe, was not the best leader. I mean, he started out relatively okay. He appealed to the people and gave them the leader they wanted, a fight against the oppressive white rule. But later in his term, he became somewhat of a dictator, ruling only out of self-interest rather than the regard for his people, and many people began to hate him for this.
That's very interesting insight. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Botts. I wish you the best in your quest to rule the world. Please come back to us when you've succeeded. Back to you, Josephine.
Thanks, Erin. I hope you all enjoyed Ms. Botts' interview. Have a good night.